I define it as an inner wisdom. It's when your kind of emotion and your intellect come together, and it's a knowingness. Another way to describe it may be like your sixth sense. And I think that's when people dismiss it because it's invisible. So we can't see, touch, hear, smell it. It's an invisible, like a whispery sensation that you get. It's just a gut feel. It's just a knowing feeling. You can think of it like mind, body, spirit. So we've got our mind, we've got our physical body, and then the spirit is our intuition part. And that's why I think it's difficult sometimes for all of us to contemplate it or even accept it, because it's another dimension, if you like. It's a feeling, knowing sensation.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Life's Second Act. This is the podcast that delves into the challenges, new directions and uncertainties that can come during midlife, which can include looking for purpose and direction. And I do that through talking to people who have a story to tell, an insight to share, or a snippet of something special. My name is Simon Burgess, and in this episode, I'm speaking with Dawn Barnes. Dawn's career journey is nothing short of remarkable. With an exciting background in global marketing, she has held leadership roles for some of the world's most renowned brands, including Motorola, De La Rue, Oracle, D-Link and ProLogic. However, in 2004, Dawn faced a challenging period of severe work-related stress, leading to burnout and a year-long absence from work. After returning to the marketing field, it was the birth of her first son at 39 and her second at 42 that led Dawn to reconsider this fast-paced career. While it took a few business ideas to find the right fit, Dawn eventually found her calling, her purpose, as she entered her second act. She now lives in Berkshire with her husband Guy, their two sons, and their beloved beagle Lola, a passionate traveller and an active member of a local choir. Dawn credits her transformation from stress to balance to the power of intuition and mindset. This experience was a turning point in her life and ultimately guided her towards her current passion, something she is deeply committed to today. Dawn, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here, Simon.
Fantastic. So I'm hoping in this episode that we can explore some of your thoughts on intuition and the role that has played in your shift in life. I'm hoping we can explore some of those thoughts around intuition, change and transformation, and not being afraid to move into that second act. But first, how do you feel now compared to where you were all those years ago?
Yeah, I feel overall much more in balance than I used to. I love my marketing career, but it was so topsy-turvy towards work than life. So I've got a much better balance now, although some days it's better than the others. But yeah, just feel more true to myself, more me. And as you touched on, yeah, I think that's been tuning into my intuition, having my mindset work for me rather than against me. And it's just taken the first part of my life to to learn that and realise that and live that.
Did you realise that you were missing that? Was it only once that change had happened that you looked back and thought, I didn't realise quite what I was missing in my life, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of that. Although if I think back, I think there was little nudges and whispers there along the way, but I just wasn't paying attention.
How important do you think it is from your experience personally, but also with the people that you now work with? How important is it to have that purpose in life, and do you feel that it can come from anywhere?
I don't think it matters where it comes from, and I feel like I've been on this quest all my life, like what's my purpose? And I actually have come to the conclusion more now, is that it's about being your true self, 100% true, no matter what that looks like to me or to you or to the next person. It's living your life true to yourself. And so it could be work, it could be a relationship, it could be a combination of things, but it's just living by your values and being true to yourself. So that's what I think the purpose is.
Do you think that comes with age? Because I'm just wondering, when we're younger, I don't hear my daughters talking about them being true to their self maybe in the same way that we might do. Do you think age plays a part in that?
I do, for most people. I think there are some people that figure it out earlier on, but I think the first part of our life is often, for most people, it's about fitting in. And it's actually a bit scary to be different than the norm. You want to be part of the gang, the group, and you're following the rules set by other people. And it's almost as if we're given this checklist from society and from people that we care about, like, this is what success looks like, this is what failure looks like, this is how to get your achievements. And we just follow along because we don't know any better. And then I think as we get to our later years, we discover that when you are being true to yourself, you actually sort of question some of those truths that were taught to you at school by your carers with all the very best intentions. But actually, are they my truths? Are they your truths? And as we get older, we realise I don't need to fit in. I just need to be myself, and then those people that are like me will be able to find me. It's almost like we have this beacon. Like when you're being yourself, you can attract the right work, the right relationships, and you just feel more at ease, more content because you're living your life as you.
When we go back to, let me say, your low point, we've spoken a lot on the podcast about burnout, and it seems to be a huge area. What did burnout really mean to you? How did it show itself to you?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point actually, because I think at the time I had a lot of stress, severe stress, which led to then burnout because I didn't manage that well. But if someone said to me, "Oh, you're stressed," at the time, I'd be like, "No, I'm not." So I didn't recognise it. But what it was for me is I put my life and soul into my work. My balance was topsy-turvy. My priorities were out of sync. And I just was not looking after myself. I wasn't taking care of myself physically. I wasn't eating wholesome food. I was just like convenience food because I was working so long hours. It was just grabbing something quick.
Yeah.
Having a glass of wine or two just to relax me, which then impacted my sleep. I wasn't sharing how I felt with anyone because I felt ashamed that I wasn't coping. Wasn't socialising as much as I'd like to. So it was a combination of things. I had some tough challenges at work with people, with reorganisation structures, managers. It was just a combination of things. But it was that feeling where you're so overwhelmed with stuff, you can't see the wood through the trees. Your head's a bit fuzzy to work out I don't feel good, but I can't work out what I need to do.
Yeah.
So the easiest thing is to bury it and just keep going. You're just on that hamster wheel day after day, not feeling, I don't feel great.
So if you don't mind me asking, what was, let me say, your lowest point, or the point where you thought this has got to change? Because it's very easy for us to keep plugging on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keep doing the same thing. So what was that moment for you where you thought, hey, things have got to change here?
I've heard of it as like the Sunday scaries, but when you're not perhaps in the right job, or the job isn't working well for you, and you sort of get that Sunday, dread, I've got to go back to work on Monday. Well, it was happening to me Friday night, and I just thought, this is not right. I had to admit it to myself first that things were, this isn't normal, this isn't right. And I opened up to my dad and just kind of broke down. And there was like, I need to go and see my GP. So it was that feeling that, the Friday night, and I can't go back and do this again. I'd really literally crashed and burned.
So you took a year out. I guess you got better. You then got back into marketing, and then it was a little later on you had your sons and you thought, hey, I need to shift and change again. We've touched on it, and I'm really keen now to dig into this intuition, because again, it's something that I find a fascinating topic.
So do I.
It's there, you have a feeling, but to act upon that sometimes, The way I've described it was with somebody just recently, actually, in another podcast conversation, was I might have a feeling, but have I got the right sane mind to be able to make a decision on whether that feeling is worth pursuing, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Talk me through intuition and when you started to acknowledge it or realise that it's worth listening to. And for you, how would you define intuition?
I define it as an inner wisdom. It's when your kind of emotion and your intellect come together, and it's a knowingness. Another way to describe it may be like your sixth sense. And I think that's when people dismiss it because it's invisible. So we can't see, touch, hear, smell it. It's an invisible, like a whispery sensation that you get. It's just a gut feel. It's just a knowing feeling. You can think of it like mind, body, spirit. So we've got our mind, we've got our physical body, and then the spirit is our intuition part, the invisible bit.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's difficult sometimes for all of us to contemplate it or even accept it, because it's another dimension, if you like. It's another, it's a feeling, knowing sensation.
When did you start to tune into those and listen to that?
Yeah, I think that's key, is when I always had it, but when did I listen to it? When I first think about it was when I had that year off from work, when I was like taking a big forced break. But also other points. When I was 27, I went around the world solo, got a round the world ticket. And I think there were certain times on there where I tuned in and listened to my intuition, which kept me safe.
Okay.
But I didn't realise at the time that that's what I was doing. But when I was conscious of it was, when I had that time off from work.
So how do you think we can tune into that feeling a little bit more? How can we tune into it and maybe acknowledge that, hey, that's our intuition speaking to us?
I think we need to get quiet to hear it, if you like, or to feel it. And that sounds really obvious, but often we don't. We just are so busy in our heads that we can't hear that voice that doesn't use words. And I think that from my experience, what happens is I might go for a little walk in nature, which I think is another great way to tune in. And I'll get an idea that just pops into my head. And because I'm maybe in nature and I'm not thinking about work and I'm just, nice and free, I have to quieten my mind down a little bit. An intuitive thought might pop in, and it's taking action on that first thought, because what typically happens is 3 seconds later, something like that, your rational mind kicks in and dismisses it. Like, oh, I'll go and do that. Oh, you can't do that. Who thinks, you can do that? Somebody's going to think that's silly. You can't do that. And then you don't.
Yeah.
But if you start to become more aware of those thoughts, those feelings, you tune into it a bit more, I think that it becomes easier and easier. So just don't dismiss those initial intuitive thoughts. And for me, the key thing is don't judge yourself at all. Be present and don't judge. So you can be mindful at any time. And I think it's a really beneficial practice and way of living.
Are there any times that you haven't listened to your intuition? You look back and you go, I knew in my gut I should have made the other decision.
Yeah, I think that I've done that with work suppliers, with relationships. But I think that's all okay, because that's life and that's ups and downs. It's just kind of recognising that, just take note of that. I think, have you ever been, when you've gone into a room with certain people and you just feel the energy change in a positive or a negative way? Yeah, trusting. I remember in a work situation working with a incumbent supplier, and as soon as I walked in the room, I thought, I don't think this is right for this company. And we had months of working with it. It ended up going to some legal thing.
Okay.
And it was kind of a little bit out of my control, because he was like a colleague, friend of one of the owners. But it was just, I was like, this does not feel right here. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we must listen to our intuition if it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right to you. It's your truth, because it will be different for someone else.
Of course. Do you think then intuition can play a part in our personal growth and well-being as we move forward, probably regardless of your age, but definitely at this point where there's a shift, isn't there? That midlife element going on here as well.
Yeah, 100% it can help. I think the best thing is to experience it for yourself and just trust your vibes, trust those intuitive thoughts. It 100% helps. And I think that as you come into your later life, you do start feeling, well, I'm sort of going down the hill now rather than up. And we do have this one life. And so if you don't want to go on a social thing, or that friend isn't such a friend anymore, then you don't need to do it. Or that work, it doesn't give you that joy like it used to, then why waste time? Or, we're here to thrive, aren't we? Not just to survive and just go through the motions. So
yeah. Do you think we can do anything to develop intuition? So maybe, we are starting to tune into it and starting to listen to it and think, okay, no, this is good. This is a part of me now. Can you develop it?
Yeah, I think everybody has it. I think we can develop it by taking time, regular time, just to quieten that mind so that you can hear it. I have a little morning ritual, I suppose. I wake up before the rest of my house. In the morning, I think there's something special about the start of a day, morning. And I just have literally a minute or two where I just take it all in. And it's making time to do that. And when I don't do that, I feel out of sorts. So say on a Saturday when boys have both got football matches, whatever, and I don't have time to just do that, it does impact me for the rest of the day. So I think, taking quiet time, I think meditation is a fantastic tool for that. I think there's something about being in nature and doing things that you love. It's kind of lifting your spirits. And when you're in that place, you can tune into it better. When you're in a sort of a darker, unhappier place, it is harder to feel those vibes, if you like.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about you, Dawn, now, and what you're doing now and your business, and then maybe let's move on to just talk about some of those things maybe that we can do to help change transformation. So just tell me a bit about what you're doing at the moment, how you're helping businesses and organisations and people to become mentally fit.
Yeah, so I was trying a few different businesses when I became a mum, sort of a bit later in life, and stumbled across doing stress management. So helping people how I used to feel all those years back in the workplace with, as I said before, sometimes you just can't work out what to do to feel better, and it's going in with gently guiding people with some practical tools and techniques, how to manage their stress, how to live a more mindful life in the workplace. And just feels amazing to be able to help people in that way, knowing how it feels and knowing how they can feel. An incredible feeling, and so needed now. I think that when this happened to me, it was like 20 years ago now, well-being wasn't really, we didn't have anything at work. We had an employee assistance program, but that was about it. There's so much more now in many companies, which is fantastic to see. It's much more mainstream, but there's still a lot of companies that don't have anything. They don't have the resource, or they don't have the time to look at it, particularly the like small and medium companies, and to go in and just get the conversation started, get people to think, get people to switch off from their work just for an hour or just for 30 minutes and just come and listen to some tools that they can adopt is, great thing to do.
Do you find there different ages respond better or worse to that? So, for example, if you're in your 20s, are you more inclined to go, I get this, so I'm going to give this a go? And, if you're in your 50s, you go, I haven't got time for that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I do think it's a bit of a mix. I see some of the younger people, and they are very open to it because it's more out on social media. It is being talked about, but there'd still be some younger people that don't. Our age, it's a mix. I think there's some people that have experienced burnout or stress, and so they're very open to it, and there's other people that are, arms folded and why am I here? I think it's a bit of a mix, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay. So just talk me through some of those things maybe we can do, or things I can look at doing to help me maybe tune into that intuition, put myself in a better place for change and transformation.
Well, I think one of them is to watch your thoughts and your mindset, because I think your mindset, your mind view is everything, or it can impact everything. Your thoughts impact how you feel, and then how you feel in turn impacts what you do, how you act and behave, which then feeds back into your thoughts. So if you say, if you have a thought that I'm not a very confident person. Somebody comes up to you with an exciting new project, but you're a bit, well, I can't do that because I'm just not very confident. So you might act that you turn that project down, and then maybe I shouldn't have done that, and I ought to never take things on, and then that, it's like a cycle. But if you change your thoughts to, sometimes I can be confident, or I'm not confident yet, or I'm going to give it a go, and then that changes how you feel. You feel a bit more brave, a bit more courageous, and then you take that project on, and then it goes back into your feeling. And so again, the cycle can change based on those original thoughts.
Yeah.
So really watch your thoughts. Maybe when I was younger, I didn't really know the impact. Now, as I'm older, I appreciate the impact of that. And on that topic is check your thoughts, check for facts, because sometimes often, there's somebody else's opinion or perception or judgment or view, and it's not the truth. It could be simple like, oh, that person doesn't like me. Well, yeah, is that true? And so, but that can lead you down a whole path based on a thought that's not even true in the first place.
Yeah.
The mindset is everything. Watch your thoughts. Practice awareness. So this is really sort of going back to the mindfulness piece. I remember the time where multitasking was meant to be quite cool and productive. No, ditch that. No, it's much better to focus on one thing, get that done, move on to the next. Be present, listen fully, be in the moment. It's all about mindful living. And remember, no judgment. Making time for doing what you love. So from my own experience, I had that time where I just was not making time for stuff at all. Now, it's so important to have elements of your life that you're doing something that just brings you great joy. And you might have a work that is still very busy family life as well, but just have those things that you love doing. I remember an analogy of an energy pie. So some days when you're not doing stuff that you love and you're just working and you're busy, and every time you wake up in the day, everyone gets an energy pie. So if we're lucky enough to wake up and we're alive and we're breathing, we get an energy pie. But sometimes it's so tiny, like the size of a Smartie or a M&M or something. You just spend it all getting up, getting dressed, having a shower, and it's gone. You're just exhausted for the rest of the day. Other days you wake up and your energy pie is huge. And it's because you're sleeping well and you've got good nutrition and all those good things that we know. But as well as that, we're doing stuff that you love, because that gives you energy. You mentioned it at the beginning. I sing in a local choir. It's a Monday night, and I think, especially in the winter, I'm like, I can't be bothered to go. Guaranteed every week I come back, my spirits have been lifted. I've got more energy. It's just brilliant. I think mentioned it before, but taking those rest breaks, the quiet time, tune into your intuition, sometimes feels the most counterproductive thing to take a rest when you're busy. But sometimes it is the most productive thing you can do, is just take a little rest, refresh, refocus, and then go again. And at those times you might want to do something completely different, go for a bike ride, listen to some music, but have that daily quiet time that I mentioned. I do it in the morning, you do it whenever, but 1-2 minutes a day, hugely beneficial. And then I have to say, tune into your intuition.
Yeah.
It's so helpful. It never lets you down. Everyone's got it. The way that I kind of think about it is that if you imagine the earth as your life, and we're given this car. Everybody in the car is our body and mind. And we can go and travel in this car around our life and go and see the wonderful things, and that's great. And we all have this internal sat-nav system as well. And it is highly sophisticated. It's incredibly intelligent, and it's unique to you. And it's got your destination in it, your sort of true north, you know that phrase. And it's always looking out for your shortest and safest route to your true destination, where you feel happy and content and fulfilled. That's it. And it doesn't really matter, what job you do, whether you're married or not, whether you live in a big or small house. None of that really matters. It's when you're being true to you and you're sort of following your path. And the thing is that some people at some times, they let someone else drive their car, and then you give your power away to someone else or society, and they think they know the best route for you. Some people get in the back seat and they're just numb to the whole journey. And some people, they're just driving along the same road day in, day out, and they just sort of feel a bit stuck or disconnected, and they've got their sat nav on, but they're just not tuning into it.
Yeah.
And some people, they never even turn it on, and they don't know they've got this incredible wisdom inside of them, which is just really sad. So,
well, let's just dial back a bit. And again, intuition probably played a part in this. You started your business back in September 2020, but a few months before that, in March 2020, you gave up alcohol. And I think you said before that this actually played quite a big part into helping you with those ideas that you've just shared with us in terms of things to have a better life and tune intuition more. Was you giving up alcohol, was that an intuition-led experience? Do you mind talking me through that? And again, why did you, and how do you feel now?
Yeah, I mean, I think intuition was probably saying all along, like, it's not the best thing. I just chose to ignore it forever, really. And, alcohol had always been probably a big part of my life, and I couldn't imagine not drinking ever. I think it's important to talk about this, because I wasn't someone that you'd think, oh, she's addicted to alcohol. I'd never drunk in the day, but when I was going through that time at work, it was my stress relief and a way just to relax me and just sort of forget about things. And then again, when I was going through like perimenopause and having young children, that was at the end of the day, they'd gone to bed, right, and have a glass of wine. It was habitual as well.
Yeah.
And I just think, again, as I got older, then the morning after, I just would feel rubbish. And I just think, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. And it was, I tried cutting down. Then I would feel like I'd need to catch up or I'd missed out. And so it didn't really work for me anyway. And so I made a decision, I don't want to do this anymore, and just made a vow to myself, like, that's it.
What was that moment, Dawn? What was that moment that you made that decision? Because often with decisions, I heard it once, something like the decision is made in an instant. It's the leading up to that decision that often, we're sitting on the fence and we're not quite sure which way to go. What was that moment for you then that you thought, no, we need to move on?
That's so true, because I'd like decades of leading up to the decision. And I think like I said, I retried it, but I was a bridesmaid for my best friend. I was maid of honour. So I had a big responsibility. I'm not drinking. I am not drinking because I'm not letting her down at all. And then it was the end of the night and it was all dancing and I've done all my jobs. I'm like, oh, I can have a drink now. Yay. And I did. I had, I think, a gin and tonic. I had one drink. Maybe I had half a glass of wine after that as well. Maybe that was it. It was not much. And I felt horrible the next morning, going to the breakfast the next morning. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do this anymore. Enough. It's kind of not ruined, but I didn't enjoy that the morning after as I could have done. That was my decision. And then I just made a commitment, like, that's it, done. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And again, it is mindset as well. It's mindset, because I cannot imagine my life without alcohol. Christmas, birthdays, going out. Like, what do I do if I don't drink in the evening? I can do this. I can absolutely do this. But I remember it probably a few weeks afterwards, not that long, not as long as you might think, or how much I thought, gone out socially and coming back home, putting my key on the door, thinking, I remember everything. Oh my God, what an amazing feeling. I remember the whole night. I had a brilliant sleep, because before I'd, have a drink sometimes to help me sleep, that sort of tired feeling. But then you wake up in the night, dehydrated, so you don't actually sleep that well.
Yeah.
I'd slept so well, woke up in the morning and I just felt vibrant, energized. And I think it was that moment, like, this is amazing. Why didn't I do this before?
Alcohol plays such a big part or role in our society, rightly or wrongly. How did your friends and your family respond when you told them that alcohol was not going to play a part in your life anymore?
Oh, so interesting. So I think that was one of the hardest things, actually, is more my perception of how people would take it. I worried so much about what to say, what to do. It sounds so silly now, like, or explaining why I don't drink. It's like I would never need to explain it if I was a heroin addict, but you kind of have to justify, well, what's wrong with you then if you're not drinking? And yeah, I worried about my family, because they'd be like, you're not drinking, Dawn? What? Who are you? So I worried about that. But I think that they embraced it. They were like, that's great. Good for you. It was more my mindset worrying about it. And I think you think people are thinking about you more than they actually are. So I've had a little bit like, just have a little bit, just have one. That's all right. And my own experiences, for me, it's a bit all or nothing. And all that negative self-talk that goes with it as well, not just the physical feelings, all that, you've done it again, look at you, idiot, you stupid, all that unnecessary, unhelpful. It was more me. And I think most people were supportive. You get the few people that just don't get you. And I think I just came up with I'm going to say this if someone says that. And now I don't feel I need to justify my back.
So you were driving your car around the world, listening to your internal sat navigation.
Yeah.
So Dawn, let's just wrap up. Thank you for sharing your thoughts today, and obviously being so open about alcohol as well. You've been on a journey from burnout to having to take time out of work. You've started a family. You've changed career. It sounds like you're much more passionate and into what you're doing now, and you've found your sense of purpose. It's always work in progress, but you feel like you're moving forward. What would your sort of final thought be to those out there, and even to myself, about listening to your intuition, moving into that second act in life, if you feel something's not quite right now?
Yeah, I'd say be honest with yourself. Just don't dismiss those feelings. Oh, it's all right. If you feel like you just kind of like, how are you? Yeah, I'm okay. Then just be honest with yourself. Well, what is it that you're just feeling okay about? Because we want to feel fabulous. We want to feel great. We want to feel vibrant and energized and thriving. And if you're feeling okay and just surviving, it's just get really honest with yourself to look a little bit deeper to what that could be. Because, we have this birth date when we're born, and we have sorry to say, but we have a date where we're no longer here, and we've got that little dash in between. If you think of like a gravestone or something, it's like, how are we going to live that dash? So if it's just okay, then do something about it.
Have you got a mantra, a line that you live by?
Yeah, one that my mum often says, which I love, is look after today and tomorrow will look after itself. And I just think, I love that.
Dawn, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks.
So how tuned in are you with your intuition? Do you see it as a guide for where you're heading in life? Do you embrace it or ignore it? I think today's chat has definitely made me think more about tuning into it more and appreciate maybe how deeply it can influence those moments in our lives. Dawn's experience highlights how vital it is to step back, reevaluate and trust ourselves, especially during life's transitions. And also some great ideas she gave on how to maybe tap into that intuition a little more. So to sum up, Dawn's message is clear. Be honest with yourself. If you're just getting by merely surviving rather than thriving, take that time to reflect. As she said, we've all got that little dash between birth and death. How are you living it? Her advice is to listen to your intuition, and if something doesn't feel quite right, dig deeper to figure out what needs to change. I think Dawn's story is a reminder that intuition is an internal compass we all possess. I love her analogy of the sat-nav. So by slowing down, listening and acting on those gut feelings, maybe we can lead a life that feels a little more authentic, energized and aligned with our purpose. And if you want to know more about Dawn, then take a look at the link in the show notes and you can see what she does and who she helps. So that's it. Until the next time, please take care and goodbye.